So I'll start the recording. So let's begin. Okay. Okay, so for starters, so welcome everyone. While others are joining, thank you so much for being here. My name is Camilla. I'm the Tech and Data Product Manager for Red Dot Foundation in Safe City. I'm also a Google Women Techmaker, and I'm part of the Gender Alliance as a communications officer. It's a pleasure to be here. This is the third time that we're hosting an AI for session. We hosted two AI for Peace sessions last year, and I see that some of you might have been participating in those sessions in the past, and so welcome back. And this time we decided to change a little bit the focus and talk about AI for democracy. Um, so a little bit about how our session is going to go. So we're just starting. We have the welcome, and then we'll do a little icebreaker. Then we'll go into understanding what is AI. Then we're going to shift the focus and talk a little bit about AI for policy change and sustainable development and democracy. Then we'll go for prompt design for ChatGPT and Midjourney. So Midjourney is a image generating tool. We will be using another form of Midjourney in this session. Then we're gonna split and go into breakout rooms so you can do a hands-on activity. And then after 50 minutes, you come back and share a little bit about how did that experience go. Throughout the session, we will be using a Miro board, which I'll share in the chat in a little bit. And after that, we'll have a really amazing board with all of your advocacy campaigns, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that, and then we'll end the session. So with that, yeah, again, just welcome all of you. And I see that there are some people that are still joining, but I would like to hand the word to Khaldun, so he can start with our icebreaker.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Camila. It's great to have you all here for this session on AI for democracy. I welcome you all. And as an icebreaker, I want to find out how you might be using at least some parts of AI, because the models that we are using, or like the text-based or image generating models are, of course, just a tiny part of what AI as a whole encompasses. So, please, everyone who already used some kind of large language model like ChatGPT, if you used that in the past for work or leisure, would you please turn on your camera? All right. Seems like quite a few of you have used these tools already. That's good. I mean, it's all around us, but I would also like to know who did use ChatGPT um, in order to get something done faster without telling that you did it with an AI. Oh yeah. We know that one, right? There's a reason why my cam is also on. Okay, great. It's good to have seen you. I want to remind you this workshop will be an interactive workshop. That means at one point it would be really great for all of you to see each other in the breakout rooms because you need to collaborate. And with that, I'll hand over to Camilla for the introduction of our first speaker.
Thank you, Khaldun. And I really loved the questions that you had because when we did this workshop a couple of last year, AI was still a little bit mysterious. And I think from that moment on, it has evolved so much that the second question of, okay, so have you used AI? And not really tell people that you used AI. It's such an important question because, I think in some ways it kind of made its way into our lives. But really, what is AI? And how can we really explore what AI is? And how can we use it in our day to day? Is AI just ChatGPT? Is it just, I see some other note takers into the room. So, is AI just that? So, to answer some of these questions and some of the what's happening? So to answer some of these questions, I would love to invite Roberta, a fellow Google Women Techmaker, to talk to us a little bit more about what AI is. And Roberta, before you share your screen and talk to us a little bit more, I wanted to read your bio. So Roberta has over 19 years of experience in planning, developing, and sustaining enterprise level programs. She specializes in driving transformation through conscious research and software development, fueled by innovation and creativity. As an executive, Roberta has proven ability to maximize returns even with a limited resources. She excels in leading cross-functional teams to enhance customer lifetime value and improve overall experiences. Her diverse background allows her to effectively engage with any function or level within an organization to identify opportunities, design impactful solutions, and measure outcomes. Her focus is on creating exceptional user experiences and build valuable businesses. She often ponders what stories surround a team, what motivates them, what potential futures lie ahead, what visions can be crafted. These are some of the questions that she consistently seeks to answer throughout her professional journey, often without even realizing. And the bottom line, it's all about people. So with that, Roberta, I'll give the word to you. So yeah, take us away.
All right. Thank you so much, Camila, for the introduction. I'm honored to be here collaborating with you today to talk a little bit more about what AI is all about. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, okay, Camila?
Yes, please go ahead.
The standard question, can you see my screen? All right. So, what is AI? It's a set of technologies that enable computers to perform a variety of advanced functions, including the ability to see, understand, and translate spoken and written language, analyze data, make recommendations, and so on. In other words, machines that are programmed to perform certain tasks automatically without the need for humans to supervise their work. So one of the questions that was brought to us was what should we expect from AI in the future, right? So here at the company that I work for, one of the biggest challenges is to use AI after the hype. Kind of like what Camila was sharing. Okay, now the question is different compared to 1 year ago. Have you used AI? What kind of AI? So, well, I'm not that young. Don't do the math, but I was born in the 80s. And in the 90s or the 2000s, I think, we had big data, and initially it was like a hype, right? So what we have as of today with the internet and big data, it's after the hype. We include it in our daily usage, right? And the same will happen with artificial intelligence. It will actually, in my opinion, place us humans closer to our hearts. So it's not that it's going to replace us, right? But it will help us to perform our day-to-day jobs in a better way, right? Generate insights, trends, that sort of thing. So when we think about AI for democracy, this is how AI can help us generating insights, sharing trends, the newest news, how we can learn more, considering our profiles, how can we best engage with democracy initiatives, that sort of thing. That's how AI can help us. So types of AI that we have, there are several of them. The main classifications that we have are the following: reactive machines. This type of AI does not have the ability to form memories or rely on past experiences to make decisions. It's simply guided by the present or future, but has no knowledge of the past. So I cannot ask what happened 1 year ago, 2 years ago. It's all about the present or the future. Limited memory, they have information of the past, but in a momentary way, since their storage is not unlimited, like the mind of a human being, where it can store memories of the past. They are machines that have information from the past, but in a momentary way. And then we have the mind theory. These machines will be able to understand that human beings are made of feelings and thoughts that modify their interaction with the world. The behavior of these machines will have to collaborate with social interaction, so it has a high dependency. And self-awareness, the ultimate goal of AI is to create machines that are self-aware. Main uses: virtual personal assistants. These are well-known chatbots. We already know them. They allow us to interact with them according to our search history. When we come to day-to-day jobs, and we can upload a PDF file or a presentation like this one that I'm sharing with you, and then we can generate the main insights from that presentation, like good questions. So it's kind of like you can chat with docs, right? That's another possible use. Business and finance, AI brings the possibility of generating greater security, offering new operations, and being aware of relevant market information. So you can watch the trends, you can understand numbers, you can make predictions, that sort of thing. In education, it allows to personalize them according to the students, to control attendance and evaluations, to establish teaching learning strategies. So it will help the teachers to become even better teachers, because it has the power to identify possible opportunities from a student point of view, where the student is struggling by learning math. So AI can come and help and identify, yeah, you have an issue with summing numbers or dividing numbers. Have you considered study this, and that? Exercise more on this scope here, that sort of thing. Commercial, it allows to know and recommend what the customer needs, predicting trends, and making very detailed analysis. So based on my shopping history, it can suggest things for me to buy, and like items on sale, that sort of thing. Health, AI can ask us about symptoms in order to make a diagnosis, recommend if we should go to a ER or if we can just schedule a doctor's appointment, we can wait for it. A possible solution to the problem presented by the patient can generate without the need of a human being. It can help with a triage process. Advantages and disadvantages of AI. Advantages are many. Automation of repetitive tasks, reduces human error, more room for creativity. So, when you're generating content for LinkedIn, for blogs, for, newsletters, that sort of thing, it can help us a lot. It can reduce our errors, but you have to be careful because AI hallucinates sometimes, and it can generate information that might be misleading. So a couple of weeks ago, I was using AI to calculate how many food I needed for my husband's birthday party. And then the sum, it hallucinated in the sum. And then, of course, this is why it's so important for us to review and be intentional about what AI is providing us, not just using it without any, conscience on it. So automation of repetitive tasks, it can help us with the list of grocery shopping. It can, you take this time to use the toilet paper. It can help with, you're probably running out of bananas at home, so you should buy it, that sort of thing. It can help you increase accuracy by reducing the likelihood of an error. AI provides high accuracy in decision making. When it comes to my day-to-day work as a project manager, it helps with estimations. Okay, for a senior engineer to work on that given task, how long does it take versus how long will it take for a junior to implement that? So it helps a lot. Decision making, when you're navigating through conflict management, situational leadership, if you provide sufficient information to the AI, it can help the agility in the search and connection of information, in the analysis of the data collected. It can help you determine what is the best approach to address that conflict and that sort of thing. When we are activating political activism with AI, it can personalize outreach strategies to engage voters effectively, to provide insights for a better decision-making process, that sort of thing. Disadvantages of AI, difficulty of access to data. For an artificial intelligence to work properly, it must have updated and reliable data. This does not always happen in this way because being just a machine, sometimes it does not have all the necessary data to make decisions appropriate to the needs. Again, this is why it's so important for us to collaborate with AI to provide accurate and real data. The lack of qualified professionals. As this is a new technology, the number of qualified professionals who can handle the tools is yet limited, but with workshops like this and all of the information that we have, we will be improving and being able to collaborate in better way, writing good prompts, asking good questions, and using the several layers of AI possible to make the world a better place. Also, it's very expensive to develop. The cost is extremely high. And when we come to day-to-day operations and software development, that sort of thing, you understand there is a high investment involved. So in order to replace or match the human figure with machines, it's essential to have a lot of money to cover all the necessary development and maintenance costs of these tools. So this is why it's so important for us to use it wisely, and be precise and strategic about in which parts of our journey we are going to use AI, considering that it's expensive, right? So I think in a nutshell, Camila, this covers what I wanted to bring as an intro.
Thank you, Roberta. And I think you mentioned such important topics. Please, if you have questions, if you have thoughts on Roberta's presentation, please put them in the chat. And in a little bit, we will have a Q&A session and moment for us to discuss them. But I think one really interesting thing that you said, and I'll move over really quickly, I just wanted to say this, is one of the questions that we received prior to the session was, is AI going to take away all of our jobs? And really, I think you touched the point of it's not going to take away our jobs. It's much more about making sure that we know how to use it, and use it as a tool, which is what we're about to do it today. We're about to explore today how to use AI to strengthen your work as a professional, as an advocate, as an NGO leader, as a youth advocate as well. So thank you so much for that. And I've never actually used AI to calculate the amount of food that I needed in a party. And I will have to try that. I will have to try that because it's such mind-blowing how much we can actually use with it, how much we can do with AI. But really, when we talk about democracy, right? And Roberta, you touched the point, for example, on how students and teachers and professors can use AI to measure progress, measure development of a student. And a lot of times I talked to a lot of professors about integrating AI, doing programs with AI for them, and a lot of professors were so against it. So I think AI also has this negative point of, it's there to make our lives easier, but I think there's still a disconnect on how we can use AI for good. And talking about AI and democracy, when I was planning this session, the question came to my mind a lot of how do we actually use AI to strengthen democracies? Where is that connection? Where is the connection between AI and social good? Is it good to write grants? Is that the most I can do with AI? So to touch a little bit more upon how we can use data and artificial intelligence for social good and for democracy, I would love to invite Kanika Joshi to talk to us a little bit more. And before I hand it over to you, Kanika, I would love to introduce your bio. So Kanika Joshi is a senior advisor at UNSDSN, Youth and Community Advisor at One World Together. Kanika has vast experience in using data for impact. She was the curator of the Data Changemaker series at the Open Data Institute. She led the impact discipline at ODI as Impact and Sustainable Development Lead, where she implemented the new MLE framework and the corresponding internal infrastructure. Her focus includes Global South and international narratives around data, building a community in this space, and she's also really passionate about gender equality. So with that, Kanika, I would love for you to take us away and talk to us a little bit more about this connection between AI and democracy and impact and social good. So yeah, over to you, Kanika.
Thank you, Camilla. I might need your help to showcase the screen if that's possible. Showcase the presentation that I have, yes. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I think it's just a really amazing thing and like an amazing kind of a context setting that Roberta has already done and Camilla is already so passionate about the subject. So I'll try to gear shift a little and focus more on the impact that AI can bring and really focus on what good looks like using AI. And I'm an impact professional. I've been working in the sector for about 10 years, and I do feel that we hear the term impact every day. So even if we keep the term AI aside, we always like hear these statements on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, where like someone's like, oh, you've had a great impact on my life. Or someone says that the social impact of a project is enormous. Or someone just like mentions how like regulations are heavily impacting them and their business. And most importantly, like in any place where we work, be it a school, be it a university, be it academic space, industry space, everyone asks us what's the impact of the work that we're doing. So if we could move to the next slide, I think what I really want to focus on here is that we need a framework for impact. And I personally have been using the Sustainable Development Goals framework, which is a very comprehensive kind of a 17 goals which the UN had set in 2015 and adopted by several member states, which focuses on everything, right from like impact on poverty to education to equality to inequalities and so on. And impact in itself, like I think Forbes does a really good job at defining it. It just focuses on it as being if a marked influence. So basically, like something which can be measured, something that can be achieved, something that can be done for good. And again, like before I jump into AI, I again like want to acknowledge that let's take a step back. And what helps build AI? So just like data in itself, like the data of how many people, like 48 people join this webinar. So, and like similar things, how many people registered. So these kind of data sets actually are building blocks of a much more representative and like useful AI structures. And to give you like a brief background of why I started being passionate about anything related to AI is because I read just one statistic. So this was like probably when the moonshot landing of ChatGPT happened 2 years back, that the most amount of harms that will happen for AI in case like we don't work on more inclusion focused work right now will be on racial and gender bias. So it's basically like women of color and people like you and me. And that's when I was like, okay, I'll take an oath that rather than I'll try to gear shift again from the fear mongering and the fear of the unknown, but I'll try to attend all conferences. I'll try to use all AI tools. I'll try to like be part of using technology for a better future. And if we move to the next slide, I think what you'll see here is basically that it works. So in general, like just this is a statistic that I've picked up, like a graph that I picked up from the AI Index report, which is launched this year. It's launched by the Stanford University, and it basically talks about how AI has reached non-tech audiences sooner than ever. So it's not only technical people, only in industry and big techs that are talking about AI. We're consumers and producers, even in non-tech kind of spaces, in civil society, academic spaces, and so on. And this graph really shows how all the countries in blue have released their AI strategies already. Wherever there's like a purple sign, they're in development and some are not released. And in general, it basically like shows up how just in 2023 itself, we had like 8 new strategies that were added from like Middle East, Africa, Caribbean, showing that the AI public policy kind of a discourse is increasing. And again, like when we talk about democracy, policy and people directly kind of feed into it. And that's all the more reason for us to be involved and be interested in it more than ever. And if we move to the next slide, what you will notice is that there's quite a lot of initiatives that are picking up. So, of course, at a multilateral level, ITU, which is the International Telecommunications Union, what they have done is they've set up like an year round AI for Good summit. So this is not just like a summit where you have to go in Geneva, but this is an online presence, a kind of a one-stop shop where you can be part of similar, like these kind of webinars on a weekly basis. And you can just like upskill yourself. And why do we need to upskill yourself, you will ask? Because really, like AI for social impact refers to trying to use artificial intelligence for anything for so related to like social change or to really create equitable opportunities for all. And it's also started to get mainstream in media. So, like right from Guardian to BBC to Reuters, we're seeing how AI related positive headlines have also started to show up. So, like how it's useful in healthcare, like Roberta mentioned, how it's useful in youth related conversations, like Camilla mentioned initially when she opened up the session, and how people are also using it for like climate change related solutions across the globe. And if we could move to the next slide, um, what I really want to again emphasize is that AI has massive potential for social impact. And I've been seeing it, I've been like in all the events I've attended, I've seen like very unique use cases. I'll start with some SDG ones and then probably like also encourage you to add in the chat of like what AI for social impact related initiatives have you seen. So in healthcare, Robert already mentioned that it's being used in AI diagnostics. We also see it quite a lot in SDG 16 for peace and justice. Again, such a essential for a democratic process or a social movement to kind of pick up, right? Where we're seeing like journalistic roots into it, where AI algorithms can actually quickly scan and fact check large amounts of information, deep fakes, false news at a pace way higher than how like we could have otherwise done. We've seen it in quality education where like people are using and trying to adopt it to improve learning outcomes in schools. And yes, there's like a sensitive piece of it because we're working with like students and children, and that's why I think it's the rollout is happening but at a slower pace. And then around SDG 11, where for sustainable cities, we're seeing like policy making tools right from mayors using data to create like better infrastructure and urbanization related aspects to being used in climate change in for AI modeling and predicting and like really mitigating climate change. And one that I would like to mention that I haven't written here because like I just couldn't find the link for it, but I went to a conference once for a AI filmmaking workshop. So it was a free portal. They were telling anyone and everyone to be like a filmmaker just by using AI. In 20 minutes, like a new film can be created. It was done by LTX Studios. And a speaker there actually created a AI chatbot to speak to a AI mom. And I was like blown away by why. So this person basically mentioned that he never had a experience, like his mom passed away very early on in his life. He never had a conversation with a mom, and he wanted to create like something so he could like chat with someone who kind of comforts him, kind of showcases like support, etc. And just like to showcase how AI is like, of course, can be used for very many serious things, but also can be used for very deeply personal kind of things as well, which is like interesting and a very kind of a creative way to think about it in general. If we could move to the next slide. Again, I think why should it matter is always like what I think the hook is for learning anything. In general, artificial intelligence right now has been projected to have a 15.7 trillion, like to be contributing at that amount to the global economy by just 2030. And I was in the AI consortium with the Commonwealth Group in New York just a few weeks back when the UN General Assembly was happening. And it was really interesting because even the number and size of youth population in general, like we're talking about 56 member countries having over like billion people, right? So it's really talking about young people as innovators. It's talking about young people being able to empower entire communities. It's talking about young people having career opportunities rather than jobs being like gone away. So of course, like it will require some level of upskilling. It will require a lot of these webinars. It will require a lot of these in-person, let's try to make it work kind of things. But it's happening and it's here, and that's why we should care. And just if we could move to the next slide. Thanks, Camilla. In general, I feel that you can reach out to me anytime. What I'll do is I'll try to send some of the resources that I've used in the slides to basically talk about aspects that that I was talking about. And there are some case studies also that I had, and I'm wondering if I could also cover any of the case studies. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, so just 3 quick case studies, probably if you could go to the next one. Thanks, Camilla. The next one after this, probably. One more, sorry. Thanks. Yeah, so in general, like OECD has a brilliant framework of how young people can be involved as workers, policymakers, researchers in shaping AI debates for democracy. And I would encourage everyone to look at that. I'll also share the links that I mentioned. And if we could go to the next slide, what I thought would really do justice to this is just talking about case studies of how people and organizations across the globe are using AI for social impact. Policy is a brilliant stakeholder in Uganda. They are working on looking at AI from a feminist lens by working with young women and seeing how can they join politics, what kind of AI related intelligence can they use for their work, and some of the key insights that emerge are, of course, like how currently like AI systems are so white and male dominated, and there are colonial structures that continue to kind of determine how it functions, and it tries to focus on how language barriers still exist, and we need to really like come up with principles, guardrails, safeguarding mechanisms, handbooks on from the global south and from the global majority to kind of support in the intersectionality to be a key piece in it. If we could go to the next slide, another case study I thought would be really helpful was in like these were grantees with data empowerment funds. It's called Data Against Feminicide, working brilliantly in the Latin American context, and they really focus on building two kind of one AI-driven platforms and two kind of tool sets to towards data, because data is what feeds AI to so kind of scanning the news, ensuring that any missing data and media biases can be busted in general. So would encourage you to look at their kind of initiatives. And the next one, if we could go to the third case study, it's a VC funded startup group enough. It's started by 2 young people in London, and I was in one of their sessions just yesterday. It was amazing because what they're coming up with is a AI badge, and it's a very innovative idea. They're trying to ensure that women can feel safe in the street. So there will be some levels of real time access, some level of real time like coordination with the police departments in the local areas to kind of automatically alert when someone is at risk of like harassment on the streets at odd times. And it's just kind of showcasing how with the right frameworks, focusing on diversity, inclusion, focusing on like data being of quality and like really driving AI from a much more inclusive landscape, a lot of solutions can emerge from young people. And yes, if we could just wrap this up with like reach out to me anytime, and I will be more than happy to kind of discuss with everyone on how like how solutions can be created. I just feel that we currently have massive access to media and internet, which is a brilliant thing. We have technology that enables us to meet us here. I'm an Indian living in United Kingdom. I buy Chinese phones, use American software. I was invited by a Brazilian to deliver this talk, and I'm providing case studies of Uganda just and operating by like European GDPR laws, just showcasing how interconnected we all are. and how it's actually our duty to kind of prevent AI from perpetuating further privilege, widening gaps, because and by really encouraging like local solutions, promoting equity in development teams, ensuring data representation, and ensuring that we are adopting levels of ethical frameworks, because it's only when we focus on trust and run away from the fear mongering, but you start using AI as a tool, like for AI to serve us rather than the opposite way. By creating that level of awareness, that I feel we can ensure that we won't be leaving our own communities behind. And yes, just like feel free to reach out to me anytime. In the next slide, it's just where you can reach out to me. And thanks, Camilla. Over to you. Always open to any discussions or chats that people might be having.
Thank you so much, Kanaka. It was wonderful to hear you talk, and I'm sure that there are multiple questions popping into the chat, so please keep them coming. Um, I think your presentation was such a beautiful segue from Roberta's presentation, because now we do understand what AI is, and I think you bridged the gap between, okay, so what it is, and then now I know what it is. I know that there's more than ChatGPT. I know I can do really cool things about, such as doing the math on how much food do I need for a party, because I'm still shocked about that. But then moving to social good and social impact. I think AI has developed so much in the past couple of years. And I think you brought such an amazing framework and what people are doing with it. I think AI is such a good tool to scan the web, as you said, the organization in Latin America who's looking at the data gaps and what's missing in the insights through AI, and then giving it a concise response. I think this is so beautiful. And before I move it to Khaldun, I want to say that we from Red Dot Foundation and Safe City, uh, we're doing similar work, right? We're mapping gender-based violence and cases of harassment that unfortunately some of them do lead to feminicide. And if we integrate a tool that scans the web through all of these newspapers, what people are talking about, I feel like, at least in my context, every day we see a new case of feminicide happening. Um, and gathering the data in a way that makes sense about that is so hard. So seeing that was at least really impactful for me, um, because I think it does really bridge the gap on how do we make sure, or how do we drive forward to a space that's more equitable and of course more democratic. So thank you so much, Kanaka, and I would love to hand it over to Khaldun at this moment to moderate a little bit of a Q&A panel.
Great. Thank you, Camila. And thank you, Kanika and Roberta, for your input. And as we expect from our engaged audience, we also already have some really interesting questions that we want to forward to you. And feel free, both of you, to answer them to your liking. So one of the questions that we had were, can, and I think you both of you like kind of touched on it, can artificial intelligence really contribute to solving social problems? And I think the focus is on solving, like not just only bringing them to the surface, but really to solve those social issues that you already also talked about. Who would like to start first?
Well, I can bring some thoughts, and I think that Kanika for sure can enrich them. I think that when we are balancing security, privacy, and insights, establishing strict protocols can help for data use, considering that privacy is something crucial. clear communication about data usage. These are some of the things that AI can help prescribe. Minimize misinformation, flag misinformation in real time, fake news. This is something that, AI can collaborate and, prevent it. Engaging the community, empowering citizens to use in advocacy can boost processes. So these are some of the, I can list many more, but I'm looking forward to hear Kanika on this so that we can continue the conversation around.
I completely agree. And I think just to add, I feel that, of course, it can solve quite a lot of challenges, but it also has the power to widen quite a lot of existing inequalities. And I think I always would like to look at it from that standpoint as well. How can we involve more people? How can we have more participatory processes, more inclusion, more data sets, more people in development teams from communities that AI is meant to serve, rather than just like being there. It's a beautiful thing that I heard recently, that if you're not at the table, then you're at the menu, in a recent event that I went to. And it really resonated, because I was like, yes, we all actually have to be at the table for this AI related solutions. Otherwise, people who don't understand our needs will be solving for us, kind of a thing. So I do think AI has the potential to solve quite a lot of social challenges, but only when we ensure that it's more citizen driven, and more people are involved and aware about it.
I mean, it's really interesting. I would like to challenge you a bit, because and that also like connects to the next question. So the next question is, how does AI make sure it is using reliable and trusted information? And you, Roberta, you suggested that it could be also used to identify, for example, fake news or disinformation. I mean, when looking at the difficulty with the data sets that uh, artificial intelligence might be working, that could also lead to maybe false flagging misinformation, or that only those who have access to the algorithm to the algorithms, that they are able to basically influence the way that what we see as misinformation, fake news, whatever you want to call it. So back to the question, how can we make sure that we use reliable and trusted information? How do we create information integrity?
Yes. So to your example, I think that the importance of human oversight, we start with that. And a direct example that we can bring to the table that it's easy for everybody to relate is Waze. When you have a lot of traffic, you have a hole in the streets, it's asking you, is it still there? So once you call the community to action to oversee in many of our applications and validate the information, I think, it's something that can benefit us, right? Have advisory boards that are kind of like a steering committee, if you will, that collaborate with the community to make sure that we have expert input as part of the data accuracy, right? We can have curated data sets, diversity of sources, because it's very challenging to trust just one source. We can do validation techniques, cross-referencing with trusted sources, fast checking algorithms to help the human oversight, the continuous AI learning, because then AI has the ability to learn based on our feedback. These are some of the transparency, the methodology that it's being used, where the data is coming from, some algorithms that can mitigate bias. This is another very hot topic right? And I see Kanika doing this. It's because, it's some of the things that we can consider to, have better data.
Great. Kanika, what's your take on that?
Totally. And I think Roberta actually mentioned something while she was giving her keynote, which I quite feel is a very good way ahead, which is that you need to review. You need to review. So currently, for example, ChatGPT is designed to sound correct. It is not that it will not always be accurate. And it mentions that in itself, like as a disclaimer, etc., as well. Right. So it's really important to kind of just understand that there needs to be a human involved while you're uh, who makes those decisions of like how this is further being used or how these insights that have emerged are further being used. And I feel that's where just human centered AI is like such a important term that like ODI also focuses on. I think that would be really important. So that's like one aspect of it. And the other is like just ensuring that there are governance frameworks. So really ensuring that ethics and trust and safeguarding processes are ensuring quality data and ensuring representative data as much as possible to whichever extent as possible. I think that would be what would really be helpful.
Mm. So
And
there are still some risks, and maybe we could, without being without creating dystopias, but I would like to go into the questions about involving AI into democratic practices, because other questions from our lovely audience touched upon the question of like, if you have countries, for example, that are not as much practicing democratic processes, what kind of risk do we see when they are using AI? And how can AI practices be a counterweight to, let's say, more authoritarian practices? Could there be like something that even works against that? How could AI be leveraged, so to say, to enhance democratic processes, maybe even be involved in elections, lawmaking, civic engagement? Um, it is, I think, a huge topic that every one of you could talk at least an hour about, maybe even give a seminar. But maybe you can give us like the gist of um, your understanding of maybe what's at stake, but also what potentials are for democracy, strengthening democracies or democratic processes when it comes to AI.
before I forget, one important thing that we haven't talked about it yet directly is accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
This is very crucial, and this is where AI can truly help, with accessibility and empowering people with disabilities to have a voice as part of the democracy, right? Um, One other thing, then we can use it AI to streamline communication, right? But to communicate things that are accurate, having as a premise that we are providing real information, right? AI can help draft legislation as well by analyzing existing laws and suggesting improvements based on historical data and outcomes. We can share this with the community, with the people, to thumbs up or down based on these modifications. So these are some of the things that we could be considering for a better place. Kanika, what's your thoughts on it?
Yes, and I also feel that not only in authoritarian regimes, we've seen like a global trend of rising authoritarianism, even in democratic countries. Like, so we're no, I would say that the amount of risk that way of democratic countries versus authoritarian countries using AI could actually be at a very similar level. And I think that's why, like, I just like it all depends on how strong our legal processes, our policies are. And that's again like tied back to democracy. And these things only happen when there's like a movement, right? And we saw this time that actually the civic society, the civil society organizations have really pushed to ensure ethics at the forefront of AI development, with AI like going at such an accelerated pace, and we seeing that like tech companies actually driving it, that even government agencies would have otherwise, if civil society, and we didn't see like this massive amounts of collaboration and partnership amount, like multi-stakeholder partnerships, even governments would have not been able to keep up with it, because they have rather bureaucratic processes, they have slower processes, they have 5-term visions and so on, while industry is like totally profit focused and like will go ahead for any innovation. I think what civil society has done here in democratic and non-democratic countries is really to ensure that there's a, rather than only a focus on the new shiny toy that's the AI right now, there's focus on ethics, there's focus on bias, there's focus on misinformation, there's focus on those things. And that I think we've done brilliantly. Like just in the past 5 months, the amount of AI legislations and policies worldwide that have been adopted are actually way more than they have been adopted in the past, in the history. And it's like really important. That's why I love the diversity index report by Stanford University, because it shows all those graphs. It shows the graphs of like everything going like that, and then just like spiking up every year, like during certain times. And I feel a lot of that is important, and then holding everyone accountable is important. And that's why a massive piece that's important is sessions like these, actually just like related to awareness building, because it's only when there's more awareness about things. I loved it because my dad recently asked me how to use chat gpt, and I was like, who told you about chat gpt? I was pretty impressed. I should have told him like at first, but the fact that him being in India, retired, still like someone must have spoken about chat gpt, and he must be curious about it. And we're seeing that even in US, like there are surveys that are getting done that more than 60% people are actually aware about like what chat gpt is. And that's a significant thing. That wasn't the kind of uptake we saw in hype cycles around bitcoin or crypto. Like many people did not feel that they're a part of it, they did not want to learn more, etc. And I think this is different, and that's why like I feel that there's a much more potential of like it doing good for democratic processes versus not.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to push you both of you a little bit. So 2 weeks ago, I've been at the Athens Democracy Forum, and there was one point at the agenda that was called the provocation, and it was about AI and governance. And what the provocateur basically suggested was AI helps us to understand incredibly many data points, and we are able through digitization to make a lot of things that we see in nature interpretable. So, for example, we are able to understand the songs of whales. It's basically a tool by them to communicate with each other. We are way better in understanding how the ecosystem is interlinked. We can understand what people talk about, what their needs are, what their demands are. So basically, an AI could be able to create policies around this, let's say, all-encompassing data set. Wouldn't that abolish democracy? Wouldn't democracy actually just be an unnecessary tool then, if we could interpret everything with AI? What's your stance on that?
That's a very good question. I think that AI, if we collaborate with it intentionally and in a positive manner, can set us up for success as mankind. But without the collaboration, without our supervision, I don't think that that's possible. So it can't automate a lot of things, but as we automate some of the processes and the decision making and understanding data and finding the truth behind data, we will be, as mankind, generating new gaps, new opportunities. So I think that that's kind of like a life spiral. It has no end. So I'm not sure if I answered your question in a pragmatic way, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you. What about
I
you, Kanika?
have, yeah, I have quite a lot of thoughts around it, and it's a great provocation, right? And that's what they're meant for. I have like three streams of thought. One, like personal, a personal one, that I'm a strong believer of democracy. I take my civic duty very seriously, and I know several people who do. And that's why I feel that I don't think we will, even if there's vast amount of data, we recognize that there are probably like just 500 languages that the internet or digital spaces recognize right now, while there's uh, uh, probably 7,000 plus languages and dialects that exist in the globe right now. Just because of that, I feel that many people who take their civic duty seriously would not let that be a future where just like governance is not possible. So that's like one stream of thought. The other stream of thought that I'm having is more on like the policy making route, like seeing how policies and governance functions right now. I know, like having worked in a data organization, worked with data like so for so long, I do feel that policy makers in general have like so many routes to make, to like decide what policies to take, and they actually don't even rely on data a lot. And that's data is all, even to convince them to believe in the data and to use data is like a battle or a advocacy in itself, right? So I feel that them completely like it's a power kind of a thought that I'm having, like them completely being like, oh, let AI governance be a thing, and that be a democratic process will not be a future that I see will happen very easily. So like I don't think that transfer of power will happen at all. And the third thought I'm having is I just hope that that's not the case, because then this will all be for nothing. Yeah, it's just like the third one is more of a hopefully we don't reach a future where that happens, because then it totally means that we are relying on historical data sets and quite a lot of people are not represented. And even if we're talking about climate and like the geospatial data sets, etc., which are probably of highest quality that we have right now, and we've been seeing like so much happen. There's like another altogether debate, and someone in the question chat has asked that as well, that there's like a we're reaching a time of planetary boundaries being breached. We're reaching a time where climate change is a very real threat to human society, and we have not even started thinking about conversations about like how so many data centers are not very like environmentally, like they don't have a good carbon footprint, or they don't, there's so many of them are sitting in northern spaces, they're not democratized like globally, etc. And I think that would be also like a stream of thought that like I was having. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for being so open about your thoughts regarding that, and also touching already on the question of the environmental footprint. So from what I have heard, it's still something that needs to be worked on, where we don't have the perfect solution currently with regards to the environmental footprint. I heard that Google is using mini nuclear facilities to power their data center. So it's a huge, it needs a lot of energy. Maybe to come back to the present, and the ecological footprint is definitely part of that, the environmental footprint. Maybe as to make it a bit more, let's say, to ease it a bit, one of the first questions that we got was about the stigma of using tools like ChatGPT. and large language models, for example, at university. As the last question for this Q&A, how would you remove the stigma that professors and universities have against AI? What's your short take on that?
Yeah, it's very easy to deliver a paper these days if you use AI, right? There are even tools to detect that the texts were AI produced, right? Um, I I would say that it's all about the whys behind the use, the intention of the use, more than anything else. Of course, we still have people using the internet in non-ethical ways, right? We will still have people using AI in unethical ways, but I don't think that that will be the trend itself. I think that we will be using the AI wisely going forward in a way that it will collaborate and set us up for success more than just bringing things ready without us understanding all of the data, right?
Mhm.
The truth behind the data. So that's my take on it.
Great. Kanika, what's your take on that?
Yeah, quick one. I think curriculums worldwide across school, like from till K-12 till to university needs a shift. I do feel that they are not keeping up with like coming times. If technology is such a important part of humankind right now, and nature is such an important part, like why don't we have quite a lot of emphasis on it? And if my office workspace is actually open to using chat GPT and talking to, like, as long as like we're disclosing it, then why should in university settings that not be the case? So yeah, I just feel that there's a education focused debate that requires like another webinar in its own merit probably. But yeah, I do think the stigma should be removed, and I know that it'll be a long battle to get there, because education is one of the most conventional subjects which hasn't like taken a lot of like shifts or moves in a long time in many universities.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks both of you for facing the questions of our wonderful audience. And with that, there's a virtual applause. Is it like that? So thank you very much for taking part in that. And we will continue now with some introductions into prompt design. I will share my screen if that's okay, Camila, to show my presentation. By the way, you will find this presentation also in the Miro board that we will share later. And I will go on with this one. Let's see if that works. Okay. Could you give me a thumbs up if you see the screen? Yes. All right, perfect. So let's see if I can. It's the way that you see me. Yes. Let's try it like that. Yes. Okay. Now you should see me in the lower left corner. Um, So a very warm welcome to this prompt design for ChatGPT and DALL E3 introduction. I hope that I can give you some insights on how to use these tools effectively. Maybe you already have your own established methods of how to use ChatGPT and Dolly 3, and you're very welcome to share them later on in the group session where you will build on that. So our idea is to create uh, content based on these the large language model for democracy. So let's start with what is prompt engineering. And a prompt is basically the input that you give the machine in order to generate a certain output, in the best of forms, the output that you are expecting. And that means that prompt engineering is the art and science of crafting effective prompts for AI models to generate desired outputs. Um, and it is important to know how to talk to the machine in a form of natural language. So basically, you're writing a text in natural language, not in code, um, to create this output. And with this, with a good prompt, you basically create a useful and reliable output that you can then use for your further needs. So when you are talking to the machine, it's basically like talking to humans in a certain way. You need to be clear and concise. So that means you need to write prompts that are easy to understand and directly to convey the desired output. It's about specificity and detail. So if you, for example, provide context, details and examples, ChatGPT it's easier for it to create a desired output. So, for example, if you um, if you want ChatGPT to write a poem for you, then and you want it to rely on the style of a certain author, you could either name the author or provide poems that were written by this author so that ChatGPT can try to copy the style. So that's basically what context means, further information that just helps the large language model to actually understand what you mean. Context, for example, could also be to say, I want you to summarize a specific text, and then you give it a text with, let's say, a page worth of text length, and this page worth of text length is basically the context on which the model relies in order to give you a shortened output. And what is also really helpful is the structured prompt. So basically, if you want to give the model an instruction, it is really good to make it in a structured way. That means you say, for example, first, your persona is oh, I can give you a really simple tool that I used myself recently, which I tried out. I used ChatGPT as an exercising coach. So what I told ChatGPT is, you are an expert in as an exercise coach, and you will talk to me in the style of a drill instructor. And I will give you these information about my body, about my age, about my fitness level, and I want you to create a specific plan for me to reach my goals. And by this structure, basically, it's easier also for you to adapt, for example, the prompt, but also to but also for the machine to understand what you mean. What is interesting when we talk about these models is what they don't understand, because you need to be clear and concise, is everything that makes human interaction special. That means all the things that you say in between the lines. That is something that does not really work with um, with large language models, but maybe in the future this might also change. We'll see. Now I want to give you some hints when it comes to Dolly 3. So the question is, first of all, what is Dolly 3? We talked about ChatGPT, which is first and foremost something that gives an output in text, but with the current update on GPT 4.0, you can also create images. And the creation of images with GPT relies on an image generating model that is called DALL-E 3. So basically, even if you use ChatGPT as the software, um, it is still um, using this model DALL-E 3. And when you create an image, you can be as creative as you want. You can describe it as specific as you like, what you want to see. And you can also use information on style and composition. So let's say, for example, you want this image to be a photograph. Then you could say that. You could also say that a specific lens should be used, let's say a fish glass lens. You can give specific details on colors that should be used. Should it be monochrome? Should only tones of red be used? Should there be specific objects included? How these objects should be arranged? So all of that is able to be you can basically also give this information to the model. And it's important to understand also here that structure is key. The better you structure your input, the easier for the model it is to give you an output. And what sometimes is also really useful when generating images is not only to tell the model what to show, but also what not to show. Um, so if you want to have certain things that are not included, then you can also say that. Awesome. So Camila will later on give you an introduction on how the breakout sessions work, but for that, these best practices are useful, but also in general, whilst you using um, the large language models, ChatGPT and others, test and iterate. Give it another try if you think that it's not the output that you wanted. Adapt your prompts. I also want to give you the tip: if you found a prompt that worked really well, save it, use it for later, adapt it to other contexts. Sometimes you can even find in the internet so-called prompt libraries where already established prompts are there. Seek feedback, talk to others how they what kind of prompts they used. And what is also really important, stay updated, because when Camila and I first designed this workshop, we had like different models that were in a different state, that were not as capable as the models are right now. And there are sometimes like different ways how to talk to these models. So try to stay updated on that too. Yeah, and some like prompt optimization strategies for you that might help is and that's possible also with ChatGPT. We will not go into that today in depth because this is just an introduction. But if you have the software ChatGPT installed, you might know about prompt chaining, which basically means to stay in conversation with the AI. And by staying in conversation with it, the AI better understands you and gives you better output. Um, yeah, prompt engineering techniques. I we already touched on that, and data augmentation. Um, it it is basically something that would which something that basically something that you as a user wouldn't generally do. It might be possible to a limited extent also with the ChatGPT interface, basically to use training data to improve the AI model's ability to understand prompts. So this is this has two sides. First of all, to give it to see that it has a better data foundation, and on the other hand, that it knows better what kind of questions should receive which answers, and that is something that you can do by so-called fine-tuning the AI model. But that's really some advanced stuff which I wanted to just quickly touch upon. Of course, there are ethical considerations. I'm so happy that Kanika and Roberta talked about them already and touched on them, like what some issues are. You see these here, like bias and fairness, transparency and explainability, privacy and security, accountability and responsibility. I want you to keep that in mind. And now we want to go on hands-on prompt design into the prompt design workshop. And before we do that, just one sentence. As you might have seen on the side, there were a lot of images, and maybe you have already recognized that there are some specificities regarding these images. For example, the one here, these laptops don't really look like laptops, but also like a mix with paper sheets. You also see here that AI ethics is written in a weird style. And you might also see that the hands here are a bit of a in a bit of a difficult style. And as one of the values is transparency, I used an app called Gamma.app, which basically helps you create presentations within minutes based on a simple prompt. And this is how this whole presentation was created. So there's a big potential in the use of AI, and I hope that you will feel that too in this structured workshop. And with that, I will give back to Camila.
Thank you, Khaldun. I'm super excited, and I think it's so awesome that you brought that disclaimer in the end because AI is all around us, and you could see. I think it's so funny, at least for me, to see the limits of AI and how most of the times even though it generates beautiful texts, but in images it cannot spell right. Or if you ask for a human, and then normally that human has like 4 fingers or 3 fingers. So it goes up to that point where we talked about AI substituting humans and substituting democracy. And I think it's so clear that we still see the limit of AI, and then also bring that thought into the conversation of, okay, it is an amazing tool, but it does have a limit, and that's where us as humans, as prompt engineers, as prompt designers, that's our role, is in making sure that AI is being used as a tool, but not the driving head of it. So thank you, Khaldun. That was a beautiful and great presentation. So let's go and get into our workshop. So I'm pasting in the chat a link that is for a Miro board. Just really quickly, it could be a show of hands. How many of you have used Miro before? You can react just really quickly. Okay. So I'm gonna go really quickly over what Miro is, and then I'm gonna open the rooms. So Miro is this tool website where you can see here, this is our board, the board that we're gonna be using. So you can click the link in the chat and come on in. I see some people are already here. As you can see, Miro has, it's kind of like a board that you can zoom in and then zoom out. You can get really close to something or have a more zoomed out version of what the whole board looks like. So here's what we have. So you'll all be divided into 8 groups, and I'll open the rooms in just a little bit. And yeah, we have to be careful for not moving things around. Yeah, so I just want to really quickly go over what we'll be doing. So in each group, you'll be assigned to a room, and you will head down to the group that has your room number. So if you're assigned to room 1, you'll be in group 1, and so on and so forth. And the exercise is really simple, and it's really well structured here. So first of all, as Kanika said, we're here from all around the world. So I really want you to take some time to talk to each other. In one sentence, can you answer one of these questions? So go around the room, talk about who you are, what does peace or democracy mean to you, and how can you make safer spaces for everyone? You can also write a little bit here. And then for you to write, I encourage you to go over to this side and click on the sticky note. And the sticky note here, you can paste it and then write hello. So please feel free to use it like that. Then after your little icebreaker, you can come to the brainstorming for your prompt for ChatGPT. So we have here 2 questions. So what does a democratic election looks like, and what would democracy look like for all? So just pick one question and then go for it. So here, as an example, I said, what are the main characteristics of a democracy for all? So I said humanity should be number 1, equal opportunities, respect for all genders, acceptance. How do people who live in a democracy for all feel? So you go over the questions. And then we'll go to our prompt design. So as Khaldun said, you have to be really structured. And I set out 5 questions here. One is the reason, the purpose, the context, the request, and then the format. So please answer these questions. And then you will come over here and then you see the template for your prompt. So you'll start with greeting, and then you would go, I'm currently working on reason because of your purpose. Here's a little bit more about your context, and then you give the request and then the format. So here we talked about, for example, hello, I'm currently working on a song to promote world democracy and to inspire people to achieve an equal world for all, because I believe it can promote world democracy and inspire people to achieve an equal world. Here's a little bit more context about this. So there's a high chance that, and then you can bring the statistics of people won't vote in the next election. Can you build me a captivating lyric that will help people understand democracy in a simple way? I need it as a poem about the importance of community participation in democratic processes and calling people to act. So you can paste your prompt, and then now you'll be ready to use ChatGPT. So we separated a Discord session. So all you have to do is click this link and it will invite you to this channel on Discord. So you see we have general channel where you can say hi, the text generation, and then the image generation. So you will first go to text generation, and all of that is written now in that document, so just follow it. And then you will paste whatever your prompt is here. ChatGPT will create a separate conversation with you. And then here I did a little test where I said, just write a poem about democracy. And then it gave me a poem. So you can use this one. And as Khaldun was saying, you can ask it to make it a little different. So you can say, write a poem that would resonate with Gen Z. Or you can say, write a song as if it was written by Coldplay, for example. So you can play around and see what results it will give you. After that, so here you can follow ups and tweaks the response to your needs. And then after that, you're ready for generating images. So you will take the text that was generated from ChatGPT, but first answering the questions of what's the style do you want here? So I wrote a song and now I want a album cover, for example, for my song. So I want it in a cartoony way with a lot of colors because I think that's what democracy looks like to me. And then in the description, you can say, yeah, in that image, I want a lot of people in a circle, chatting and talking to each other. And then you will go and then do a dash imagine style of description. So then you just paste it here. And then on the same Discord group, you can click the link here. You will go to image generation and then you would type dash imagine, click the first one, and then your description. And then that will generate your image. After that, you can download the image and also paste it here on Miro. So it's a big exercise, but we have around 50 minutes to complete it. So with that, as I said here in the bottom, you have all of the groups. So please go to your group and yeah, me, Khaldun, and then a few others will be moving from room to room to help you out if you have any questions. And there is a little function on Zoom for breakouts. If you're having trouble, you can raise your hand and one of us will go to your room to help you out. Okay? So, having said that, I will open the rooms. And if you do have any questions, yeah, just let us know. Please join the Miro. And if you are on your phone, you just have to swipe right and then the message to join the room will be there. So enjoy and I will talk to you soon. Let's go.